If you've been told that your phone addiction is simply a result of poor discipline or a lack of character, I have some rather unfortunate news for your inner critic. Those self-help gurus are lying to you. In fact, putting your phone down won't actually fix your addiction. If you force yourself to go cold turkey or hide your device in a drawer, without understanding the evolutionary terror currently driving your nervous system, you aren't being disciplined, you are just setting yourself up for a massive neurological relapse. We've been conditioned to believe that we scroll because we are lazy or distracted. But in the world of evolutionary psychology, your inability to stop checking your notifications isn't a sign of weakness. It is a sign that your brain is working exactly as it was designed to 50,000 years ago. If you don't solve the underlying biological anxiety that makes that glass rectangle feel more vital than oxygen, you aren't just losing time. You are losing your cognitive sovereignty. You are trading your high-definition future for a blurred life spent watching raccoons eat grapes, while your real-world potential gathers dust. Welcome to Cognitive Blueprint. I am not here to give you another cliché digital detox tip. Today, we are going to bypass the surface-level talk of dopamine and look at the actual black box mechanism of your gray matter. I'm going to decode the real reason you're hooked, moving the conversation from brain chemistry to human survival. The reason you failed to quit in the past is that you've been fighting a chemical battle with a psychological weapon. You think the enemy is the like button, but the real enemy is a broken survival system that views a silent phone as a life-threatening predator. For the deep-thinking introvert who uses digital spaces to avoid the friction of real-world overstimulation, or the scanner brain who treats every hyperlink like a survival-critical piece of data, the phone has become an artificial amygdala. Every time you try to force yourself to focus on a book or a deep project, your amygdala, the brain's primitive smoke detector, sounds a silent alarm. It doesn't sense boredom. It senses social death. Here's the paradox. The harder you try to ignore your phone, the more your brain perceives your digital isolation as a threat to your standing in the tribe. We are the descendants of the people who were terrified of being left out of the loop, because in the ancestral environment, being out of the loop meant you were the next one to be eaten by a leopard. Today, that leopard is an unread Slack message or a missed meme. This is why you feel wired but tired. Your brain is currently running a 2024 social operating system on hardware that views low battery and no signal as a biological emergency. To understand this, we have to look inside the mechanism of what I call the survival simulator. Think of your brain like a high-end corporate office. Most productivity advice focuses on the prefrontal cortex, your internal CEO who handles logic and long-term planning. But your CEO is currently being held hostage by the security team in the basement, the Limbic System. For the multitasker and the polymath, your RAM working memory is already cluttered with the attention residue of a dozen projects. When the phone pings, it's not just a notification. It's a safety check. Your brain asks, are we still liked? Are we still relevant? Are we still safe? This isn't just about dopamine, the seeking chemical we discussed in day 2. This is about oxytocin and cortisol. When you see a red notification bubble, your cortisol stress hormone spikes because of the uncertainty. The only way to lower that stress is to click, which provides a tiny hit of social validation. The turning point for you is realizing that your phone isn't a distraction tool. It is an anxiety management device. You aren't lazy, you're just trying to self-regulate a biological fear of exclusion. You can't willpower your way out of a survival instinct any more than you can willpower yourself to stop feeling hungry. But while you can't kill the instinct, you can re-engineer the blueprint of how you respond to it. The key isn't to fight the junkie inside you. It's to prove to your security team that the leopard isn't in the room. So, if we accept that your internal security team is currently running the show because they're terrified of a digital leopard that doesn't exist, how do we actually reclaim the boardroom? How do we convince your ancient hardware to stop treating a silent phone like a death sentence? The answer lies in a process I call the social integrity protocol. We are going to stop relying on that flimsy biological battery called willpower and start building a high-tech firewall around your survival instincts. We are moving from being a user of a device to being the architect of a social ecosystem. The first phase of the social integrity protocol is what I call anxiety labeling. Most people make the mistake of trying to push down the urge to check their phone. But in neuropsychology, suppression actually increases the salience of the stimulus. It's like telling yourself not to think of a white bear suddenly you're in a polar bear convention. Instead, when you feel that familiar itch, that frantic, low-level buzz in your chest that screams, check the screen, I want you to stop. And address your security team directly. Say it out loud if you have to. My amygdala is currently spiking my cortisol because it thinks I'm being exiled from the tribe. I am not. The leopard is not in the room. By labeling the evolutionary trigger, you are performing a neurological handover. You are moving the processing from the reactive limbic system to the logical prefrontal cortex. You are essentially waking up the CEO to tell the security guards to calm down. Once the CEO is awake, we move into the second step, environmental decoupling. As an introverted multitasker or a scanner, your brain is hypertuned to peripheral cues. If your phone is visible, a portion of your RAM is permanently occupied by monitoring it, even if it's face down. This is the biological residue we talked about. To fix this, you must engineer a physical gap of at least 20 feet between you and the device during your deep work sessions. But here's the hack. You must replace the digital safety check with a physical grounding ritual. Keep a physical object on your desk, a stone, a heavy pen, a fidget tool. When the urge to check the phone hits, grab that object instead. You are giving your nervous system a tactile signal of presence. You are proving to your brain that you are still anchored to the real world, which lowers the survival-based anxiety of digital isolation. However, you must be prepared for the hidden obstacle. About 3 days into this protocol, your brain will stage a final coup. You will experience what researchers call phantom vibration syndrome. You will feel your thigh buzz even when the phone is in another room. Your brain is so desperate for its social safety check that it is literally hallucinating signals. This is the biological extinction burst, the moment a habit gets most violent right before it dies. Most people quit here, convinced they need their phone for emergencies. But if you push through this itch, you reach the state of cognitive ease. The noise in your head vanishes, and you realize that the tribe is still there, even if you haven't seen a red notification bubble in 4 hours. Imagine your life 30 days from now. You are no longer the person trying to stay off their phone, fighting a daily, exhausting war against an algorithm. You have become the master of the system. You wake up and your prefrontal cortex is clear because it isn't clogged with the attention residue of 100 shallow social interactions. You sit down to work on your M-shaped career, and your focus is a laser beam because your amygdala is finally at peace. You've shifted your identity from a distracted user to an elite integrator. You realize that your curiosity, your scanner nature isn't a liability. That makes you vulnerable to apps. It's a superpower that, when protected by a neural firewall, allows you to connect disparate worlds and build a life that no specialist could ever dream of. This shift in identity is the final piece of the cognitive blueprint. You are no longer someone who can't focus. You are someone who understands the high-fidelity mechanics of their own survival system. You are the architect who rigs the game in their own favor. To help you install this protocol every single morning, I've put together a resource called the Digital Sovereignty Blueprint. It's a minimalist PDF that maps out the exact anxiety labeling scripts and environmental decoupling layouts for your specific brain type. You can grab it at the link below. I want to hear from you in the comments. What is the most ridiculous rabbit hole your phone has sucked you into this week? Let's decode those triggers together. And if you're ready to see how this reclaimed attention transforms your entire career architecture, you need to watch our next video on the 10-minute flow launch, where we take this quiet mind and turn it into a high-output engine. Reclaim your sovereignty. Build the bridge. You are watching Cognitive Blueprint.